Welcome to a new Voltlog. Today I'm going to talk once again about how I repaired one of my Shelly relays, this time the Shelly EM, which does energy monitoring. And if you're a subscriber of the channel, for sure you are aware of my previous videos where I repaired other Shelly relays and discussed the somewhat planned obsolescence or bad design that went into these earlier generation ones. So this is a Shelly EM, I believe a Gen 1 or 2, I'm not sure, but one of the older ones anyway, because now they're up to Gen 3 and Gen 4, which have switched to a newer ESP32C6 chipset, which adds more processing power, more memory and Bluetooth connectivity, but I am unable to tell you if they revise the power circuitry as well. This system uses a current clamp plus the measured tapped AC voltage to calculate your energy usage. And I only discovered my Shelly EM was dead like 6 weeks after it happened because I only used it as a monitoring device to monitor the energy usage of my apartment. So it wasn't anything critical, just for statistical purposes. It had been running inside my electrical panel for a total of 4 years and 2 months until it failed, which is not the worst reliability score I can think of, but still, I want more and I think it's easily possible. Initially, I suspected this is the same failed electrolytic capacitors that I found in the other relays I repaired, so I brought the relay here at the workbench. I tried connecting it via my custom designed Shelly VoltLink adapter, which feeds 3.3 volt directly into the ESP side, and it magically started and connected to the network. It was running fine when it was powered directly on the low voltage side with 3.3 volt. Next up, I disconnected the VoltLink and tried hooking it up to mains power, and it didn't power up this way, which suggests there is an issue with the power supply circuitry in charge of stepping down the mains voltage down to the 3.3 volt rail needed to power the ESP32. So next thing I did was to disassemble it. An extra care needs to be taken here. This is a mains voltage device and the risk of electrical shock is high. You should ensure the device is disconnected from mains when handling it, and even then, after power off for a few seconds, some of these capacitors still carry a charge and they can give you a shock. The first thing I notice is that it's using the same model of capacitors as the last relay I repaired. That is a good thing because I have spares to replace them. And I also noticed signs of damage on the capacitors, a little swelling, and actually one of the capacitors had a very clean puncture hole, which I noticed after removing it from the PCB. Now I won't bore you with the details of me desoldering and then soldering in the new capacitors, but long story short, after replacing the capacitors, the device still didn't want to start from mains voltage, which means there is more to investigate here. So back to the workbench, let's measure some voltages. I expect to have some sort of a buck converter that first drops the main voltage to something like 12 volts, which is needed to drive the relay coil. But that 12 volts gets stepped down further by another regulator to 3.3 volt that is needed by the ESP. So let's check if this guy has voltage at its input. Based on the markings, I have identified this to be a JW5052C. Here is the pinout from the datasheet, so we have to measure between pins 2 and 5, being really careful not to touch anything else in here because we have mains voltage present now. And no, we do not see any voltage present. And in this process, I also discovered that this inductor looks like it has a crack and this resistor looks like it has a crack, which is not good. I think this is an axial inductor, 1 millihenries, 10% by its color code band. And the resistor should be a fusible metal film resistor, 10 ohms, 5%. And checking continuity of this resistor, I discover it's open. Now, luckily, I think I have this exact resistor they used in here. Here is the part number on the bag, and if I put them next to each other, they're practically identical. They look like they came off the same mold. And I do not yet have a replacement inductor. I have ordered one, and through the magic of editing, we are a few days later, and I'm ready to replace both the resistor and the inductor. Now, at this point, you may want to stop and figure out why the resistor is blown. Since this is in the main current path, it can only blow if there is a surge event or overcurrent event. This can also happen over time by, the bad capacitors overloading the circuit, so it may have been degrading slowly over time because it doesn't show signs of a massive overload event. So I'm going to go ahead and just replace both of these. So immediately after replacing these two parts, the relay appeared to be working fine. It was running when powered from mains, connecting to the network, everything was good. So I thought that's it, restored to full functionality, repair finished. But little did I know that one day later, when taking it back home and installing it inside my electrical panel, I would realize that it wasn't working anymore. So the next day, I had to bring it back to the lab for further investigation. So why did it only work for a few minutes? Now, checking with the multimeter, I noticed the 10 ohm safety resistor was once again blown. So there must be something else in here overloading the input protection. And the next logical thing to check is the input step-down regulator. The main IC is the LNK304DN, and by checking its datasheet, we can get a sense of the circuit and the associated parts, because mostly whoever deploys this chip is going to be using the datasheet recommended circuit 99% of the times. So looking at this schematic, our problem can be caused by any one of the active components in here, including the controller IC itself. There are these two rectifiers, which are common 1N4007 diodes. We have this freewheeling diode, which in our case is equipped with an E1J fast recovery diode, or it could be the switching IC itself. Now, I did not have this particular switcher IC in my stock, but I did have the 1N4007 diodes and a matching fast recovery diode, so I tried replacing those first, soldered a new 10 ohm resistors, and again the device worked for a minute only to blow the resistor again, which is a bummer. In some cases, some of these MLCC ceramic capacitors can go bad, they can short internally, which can cause issues like these, and it can happen to manifest itself once the device gets hotter, but somehow I was suspecting the switcher IC more than anything, so I went ahead and ordered some of those, ordered the diodes as well in the right package, waited another 3 days, and after replacing the switcher IC, the diodes, and putting in a new resistor, once again, operation resumed to normal. The 10 ohm resistor wasn't blowing anymore. In the end, I think the only parts that really needed replacement were the electrolytic capacitors, the switcher IC, the inductor, and the resistor. The diodes were probably fine, but in repairs like this one, you often end up replacing a little more. And the total cost of ordering the replacement parts was roughly $30 US, including shipping charges. I ordered them locally. So it's about half the cost of a new Gen 3 or Gen 4 relay. Could have been more if I didn't already have the capacitors and the resistors from previous repairs. Now personally, I like doing these repairs. I like restoring the life of these devices, which I believe die prematurely due to bad design and poor component selection. I also like doing these videos so other people learn from my experience. So there's a lot to gain from me doing such a repair, but if I were you and I had a dead Shelly EM relay and you want to start this repair process, you have to consider the fact that you may end up paying more than half the cost of the new relay in just the components you need for the repair. I strongly believe this circuit failed in the way it did, first because of the high temperature it runs at. I measured it with a thermal camera outside of its enclosure and it showed roughly 55 degrees Celsius after just a couple of minutes of running. Now this is the absolute lowest temperature it's gonna see, because once you put it inside the enclosure, you install it inside an electrical box. That alone can easily add another 15 degrees Celsius on top of that. So it will be running at what? Close to 70 degrees Celsius, which causes the capacitors that aren't great to start with to dry up. They start loading the circuit, and that's when the switcher IC starts failing by slowly degrading the internal MOSFET. Now maybe at some point you also get a small surge event, an overvoltage event, and that's all it takes to kill it. So right before installing it back into my electrical panel, since I do not need the internal relay, I just removed that small module because that adds unnecessary load and just increases the temperature. And with that internal relay removed, I put it back together and it's been running for the past 4 weeks back inside my electrical panel. It has been stable ever since. I'm happy I was able to fix the device and give it the new higher quality capacitors, and now it should be running for another 4 to 5 years, maybe more. But whether this repair is worth to perform on your end, that's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. If by any chance this video helped you repair your Shelly relay, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below to let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll be catching you next time.